re-record a little bit. We should be there now, Carl. Thank you, Carl. Shout out to Carl in the chat. He should be able to hear us any second. So granted that we're only 2 minutes into this, I'm going to have to kick it off again, unfortunately. But yeah, no, actually I don't have to because we're still recording. We're still recording here.
So we're good. Rocking and rolling, baby. Keep it going.
We're going. So that being said, first round of the playoffs. Here we are. Sorry, Carl, you missed any of that back and forth between us in the beginning. You'll have to go now listen to the actual podcast now to catch that first 2-3 minutes.
We're good.
Yeah. So, talking our teams, we all suck, but the Giants seem to suck the worst because they can't even get the first overall pick right. And now I got to be honest, at least this is what I wanted. This is what I kind of wanted from the beginning. Because the only monkey wrench that'll get thrown in here is if Penn State, the quarterback from Penn State, decides to come out early. If he decides to declare for the draft, I have a feeling that the Giants would end up taking him. Because Cam Ward, George Sanders, they're going to go, 1-2.
1-2.
And then I think they would take him. For me right now with the 3 pick, I'm okay. I like taking Travis Hunter, finding a bridge quarterback for this year, and then going all out to get Arch Manning in 2026. That should be the goal. That's the way I'm looking at it now. Since we don't have the first overall pick, we're not going to – why try to rebuild with a quarterback? If they draft up to get one of these 2 quarterbacks, I don't know what I'll do. Like, it would be the worst franchise move in history, in my opinion. The move is to move up next year and get Arch. That's the move. Who's right now, by the way, the number 1 NIL paid player in college football. He's making, I believe, it's like $6.6 or $6.7 million, and he's the backup there right now. He's the backup.
That man carries some weight.
Yeah, and listen, if he's as good as they say he is, then I want him. I'm ready for him, and let's go.
Shout out to Carl, Baklava, and Ryan in the chat right now.
Shout out to everybody in the chat.
And Anna Marie Loftus in the chat.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting one. We got Erich Pfeiffer calling in as well. So hang on one second. We're going to bridge him in to talk a little. Mr. Pfeiffer, hang on one second. We're bridging you in here. Yep. Give us 1 second. We're going to merge these calls. Hang on. Did we lose him?
Are you even able to take calls, Eric?
Yeah, I can. Watch this. Watch what I do here.
But, yeah. Yep. Your team definitely screwed up the number 1 pick, but that's okay. You got the number 3 pick. Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, in all honesty, with what Eric wants and what his dream scenario.
Oh, did you just drop Dave?
No, I didn't drop anybody. I'm trying to merge them.
Player overall.
There we go. We got them merged now. We should have all 4 of us. So join us right now, Mr. Erich Pfeiffer. How you doing tonight?
How are you?
Doing good. Getting ready to talk some NFL here. Just wrapping up how much our Giants suck. And we couldn't even get the first overall pick right, but how I'm actually happy about that because I'd rather take Hunter, number 3, get a bridge quarterback, and go all in for Arch Manning next year. Don't know how you feel about that. What do you think?
Well, I got one person who wants to put some input in real quick. Hang on.
You say
He got shy on me.
It's all right, Reed, man. It's all right.
He wanted to change the subject real quick and just say PU Stinky Rangers and then leave it at
that. Listen, they're not playing well right now. I can tell you that. They are not.
Go Devils. All right, that's enough of that. All right,
Devils.
well, I tried.
Fight your rate.
Uncle Eric.
Oh, boy.
You hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right.
I'm getting more riled up. My bad. I just love Louis.
We got everybody here, though. I love it. It's a good group for 2025. I'm happy to have everybody here joining us. That being said, though, you got any thoughts on the Giants draft at number 3? What how the season ended? We're talking kind of last 2 weeks since we kind of took the last 2 weeks off here over the holidays. And any thoughts on how the Giants wrapped up the season, and also on the fact that they came out already and they're keeping Dable and they're keeping Shane, and this is the most losses a Giant season has ever had. And this is their
I'm
third
okay with it
year.
all.
This is their third year. I'm okay with it, but I don't want to see them go all in and move up for one of these two QBs. I don't know how you feel. I think,
No, I
though,
don't.
the monkey wrench that's going to be thrown in is if Penn State, if they end up winning or doing whatever, and their quarterback decides to come out early,
He's staying.
I
He
don't
already
know. They're
announced that
hearing
he's staying.
yeah, but he has time to go back on that. And if he knows he's going to get drafted in the top 3, kind of hard to go back, especially if they happen to
I
win
don't
this
think-
year. So
Even if they win, I don't think he is, though. He's not ready yet. He's not polished.
yeah, if he
He needs
does,
another
though,
year to
that's who the
polish it
Giants
up
would
a
end up
little bit.
taking, and it would make me sad. So I want Hunter, and then all in for Manning next year. What do you think?
I got to see a little more out of him than what he's shown so far. I mean, he hasn't played enough for me to warrant him to be, the franchise guy. But what I think, John, I don't want Travis Hunter. I don't want any of the 2 quarterbacks. I don't want any of it. All right, the guy gets a lot of press because he plays both ways. But is he really great? Is he really a top 3 franchise-changing player? Probably not. So get value while you can. Are there any teams that have 2 first-round picks, or is there a team that was willing to trade their first-round pick next year to move into the top 3 and take a Travis Hunter, or if one of the quarterbacks is there? I'd rather have 2 first-round picks next year.
I agree
And
with that.
move back
I would be
this
okay
year.
with that.
I'm
I'm okay with that.
keeping Dable, and I'm okay with keeping Dable and Shane, because I think you need to give. First of all, you can't keep turning over. You just can't keep doing this every 3-4 years. Rinse, recycle, repeat. You just can't keep doing it. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
I get it,
So
but
let
Shane
let them
embarrassed
get their
himself
guys
on
in
Hard
place.
Knocks this year, though. Looking
I
back,
think
it was
the
an
biggest-
embarrassment.
Honestly, I think I was so in on this Milton kid last year who went to New England because he was going to be a late draft pick, but he had the talent to develop. And when you have your situation where you're going to sit there and let Daniel Jones fail for the year, it would have been a perfect situation to draft that kid. Now, I think he had a really good draft last year, maybe embarrassed himself on Hard Knocks, but look at his draft results. He did a really good job in the draft last season. I see a lot of Giants fans complaining about the offensive line, but if you look at it, before Andrew Thomas got hurt, they were quietly one of the better offensive lines in the league, and then they lost an all-pro left tackle, which is very hard to replace. Not many teams can do that. I do think they need a little bit of depth. I don't have her number. So I didn't, I just, maybe they need to add some depth to the offensive line. I honestly think you're going to get in a situation where you can find a good quarterback this offseason. I think you might even run into the Russell Wilson situation with Kirk Cousins, where you can pay him league minimum. And I wouldn't mind that. Pay him league minimum, build the team, bring in your guy next year. But I think we got at least 2 more years of Shane Dable if we're going to let them build the team they want. And then after that, after next season, if they're not on the winning side of a record where they're above 500, it's time to cut ties.
Yeah, but it's 3 years into this experiment with them. I mean, shouldn't they already be? The roster should already have a lot of talent on it. It should already be shaping up to
In my
see.
opinion, it does.
Yeah.
I think the
this
core
year,
is
I'll
there.
give you this year. He definitely hit this year, Shane, on this year's draft with Malik.
With almost every pick.
Yeah, with almost every single pick. Correct. But the previous 2 drafts, not really. Deontay Banks looks like an absolute bust so far. He's got talent, but he's not. It's not translating on the field.
What do you think, Dave?
What I think is, I think I agree with Fife. You can't keep redoing this, right? Like every two years, you're getting a new head coach, a new GM. You're basically hitting the restart button and not even given a chance to run through a cycle. So that I don't agree with. So I do think it's good that they kept them, and I think that you give it another 2 years. If you don't like where you're at, then that's a little different. But I heard something interesting, related to the 3rd overall pick. If Darnold plays well, there's no way Minnesota can let him walk. Minnesota has a top 10 draft pick quarterback to the Giants in any world, are they willing to trade the number 3 overall pick to get J.J. McCarthy?
Hell no.
Nah.
Definitely
I
not
don't
for the
think-
3.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if it was the 3 for McCarthy and they're 1, I would do it. But they're not going to do that. And I mean, they're going to be drafting late in the first round, but I just don't think they would do that. But that would be a move I would make.
Real quick, Carl throws out in the chat, what's everyone's opinions about them going possibly for Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray. I don't love it, to be honest. I don't love it, but I would rather them go after somebody like a Justin Fields than a Kyler Murray. Personally.
Justin Fields
Kirk Cousins or
Kirk Cousins is another
trade,
one.
I like Kirk because I think you're going to get the Russ situation. That to me is like I've been saying it for weeks now. Since they benched him, I think you're going to be able to get him for league minimum next year, just like Russ in Pittsburgh. And I think it's a good move. I think they should. I think for this year with the quarterback position, they need to go cheap. If they can maybe trade for Milton because they got Drake May over there. If New England doesn't want to keep him for insurance, I'm still big on him. I think they drafted him in the 5th round. I'll give him a 4th.
Yeah, but if you're going to do that, I would rather them just draft Jalen Milroe,
You can do
at Bama a couple rounds later because, I mean, Milroe's not going to go in the 1st, I don't think.
I heard 2nd or 3rd maybe for Milroe, though.
What about
Giants draft high in both the 2nd and 3rd rounds.
What about Jackson Dart?
That's what I mean.
I don't like Dart. I wouldn't even bring him in.
Well, I'm saying
honestly.
if you can get Milton for a 4th or Milroe for a 2nd, I think you're going Milton, in my opinion, because Milton's had that year to learn about the NFL game and practices and you know the routines and everything. Milroe, you're bringing in, he hasn't had that chance yet, but he needs it.
Yeah,
So if
I
you're
don't know.
doing
They're
that,
both
you're still
intriguing.
signing a Kirk Cousins.
They're both intriguing, but again, does New England want to give up on him? Is New England going to trade him? Like that's the other thing. And do they
It's a good
overvalue
insurance
him?
policy.
You know, you got to also see if they want a 3rd back. Then I think I might try to go for a Milroe in the top of the 3rd instead. But that's just me. You know, I know I'm a little biased because he's a Bama boy, but that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Ryan in the chat really likes the Milton idea. Shout out to Michelle Treslar now joining us in the chat as well.
Michelle Adams now.
Michelle Adams. Her chat name is Treslar.
Yeah, because that's old YouTube. That's fine. But shout out to my sister tuning in. And yeah, but now
Randall has now joined us as well. Shout out to you, Randall.
Shout out to Randall and shout out to not a shout out, but because they're just as equally terrible. Joey, got to hear about your Jets. Who
Why do you want to hear about my Jets?
Because who they bringing in? They've already interviewed Rex.
Coach. We don't have
They've
a
interviewed
GM.
Matt Nagy. They've who they bringing in? Like that's what we got to know there. Because with the Giants, we know who they're sticking with. We know what they're about right now. They're watching from the sidelines like we are right before the playoffs are about to start, which we're going to get to right after we talk about our 3 shitty teams.
Forget the Jets. I'd rather answer.
Well, are you bringing back Aaron Rodgers?
I have no clue about any of this. We don't have a GM. There's no coach. I have no clue.
Are you letting Rodgers have a say in that if you're Woody Johnson?
No, because he's not part of the future. It's either this. I see him being a Jet or a Niner, and that's it. Or he retires.
A Niner. The Niners are saying they're going to work fast to get the Purdy deal done. So I don't think that they're going to take a shot on Rodgers if they're signing Purdy.
I have no idea where he goes then, but Randall wants to know about the Vikings. He's a Viking fan. He's a little worried about their matchup on Monday.
He should be worried, one, because they got to move that game out of that stadium. I think that the fires that are ripping through, if they're playing out in LA, I think.
Yes, they are.
So I mean, they're going to have to move that game, and they're going to have to move fast. I think because right now that area looks terrible. You can't have a game there. You can't have people flying in. Like it's not gonna work. So I don't know how the NFL handles that. And that's a good question for the rest of the guys here. Dave, what do you think happens with that game? Because right now, do you move it to Vegas? Do you move it to San Diego? I mean, is there the old stadium in San Diego still available? Are they worried about that kind of air quality there? I don't know what they do with this game, but aside from the game itself, which he should be a little bit worried about his Vikings team because they did not play well against Detroit. And they're going to have to show up against the Rams. So, but that regardless, where do they even play this game? Dave, we'll start with you.
But fell against Detroit was all Darnold. I mean, he left 2, maybe 3 touchdowns on the board when they were in the red zone. He had Addison wide open.
Yeah,
The
Jefferson wide open. Yep.
Like, I mean, at least 2, maybe 3 touchdowns. And even if they just get 2 of those, I mean, that game's completely different because, I mean, they spent more time in the red zone than the Lions did in the first basically half quarters. Yeah, basically. But when it comes down to playing the game, man, that's just a rough situation. I mean, first and foremost, you got to send your thoughts and prayers to everybody in Southern California dealing with that. And
I think over
God
80,000
bless
people have to
firefighters.
evacuate, right? Right, as of right now, and more probably coming.
Yeah, and they're saying, like, if you're even thinking about evacuating, you should just evacuate. Don't wait for the city or the township to tell you to do it. And that's the right move. Like, you can't wait for that stuff. So, and God bless the firefighters out there trying to, put that fire out. But when it comes down to the game, I don't know where the stadium is in relevance to
Move it to
fire,
Vegas.
but yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Or
But
Arizona.
I think Vegas, that's that. I think Vegas gives you your best bet, gives you the most amount of money, and I think the only thing that sucks is if you're a Rams fan, that's really going to throw your home field advantage out of the window. Not that they have much of a home field advantage, but it really will.
Yeah,
So,
the thing is, you can't
I
even really delay the game anymore either because it's already on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you can push it further in the week. It's not like this is a Saturday game that you could try to move to Monday. Can't do it. You're already playing the late game. So they're really in a pickle. And I think the NFL has to move fast on this because if people are flying in, like you have Viking fans that have bought tickets and coming in to try to go to this game, they've got to make arrangements. The Rams fans, if you're going to move it to Vegas, you got to make arrangements to get out to Vegas, whether you're driving, whether you're flying, whether you're...
Right now.
Exactly. So you got to do all that. You got to think about hotels, this, that, and the other. You've got to act, and the NFL, it isn't acting. All they're doing is monitoring, and I just don't understand that.
That's why I think Vegas is better than Arizona because with the late switch, I think people will accept it a little bit more because it's Vegas, and they'd be a little bit more happy to make a vacation out of it or something. The people that can, And I think the people buying tickets to playoff games these days with the prices of tickets are the type of people who can afford to make a vacation out of it.
Yeah, I think you're probably spot on with that one, but
yeah, but how much does it cost to do the last minute flight changes and whatnot, last minute hotel changes?
That's what I mean. It's costing, but
It's
again,
going to cost the
people would
NFL
still
some money, I think.
It's going to cost everybody
For
money,
sure.
but whatever it costs, you got to kind of do it. And the sooner you do it, the better off everybody would be. I don't know.
Yeah, the NFL is going to have to offer some sort of voucher or, submit your difference in plane ticket or whatever it costs you. And the NFL is going to have to reimburse some people if that's the case, especially since they're dragging their feet.
Or, the one option we haven't talked about yet, and I know it kind of would suck for the Rams, but why not have it in Minnesota? They got a dome in Minnesota. At least one team's a home team.
Do that. You can't.
They finished with a better record. Technically, really, I get it that they won the division, but it's not.
I agree with you on that. Like the better record should. That's not how it operates today. You can't.
It should operate like that, though. Why not
do that?
Plus, like I said, if they didn't have the better record, if they were clearly the shittier team, I would say, oh, I get it. But the Vikings were actually the better team over the course of the year. So if they got home field, at least one team would have home field. I mean, Dave, you agreeing with me, or am I out here on an island? Because I'll die on that hill.
You're on that hill by yourself there, buddy.
All right.
Yeah,
well, listen, I'm planting my
by
flag.
yourself.
I wouldn't mind. I don't think it's a bad idea to have it in Minnesota.
Minnesota had a chance to host a home game and get a bye week on Sunday night, and they didn't take advantage of it.
No, they shit the bed. Honestly, they didn't play
listen,
well.
Real quick, I got to get going. We got a bedtime to do over here. I got to go out real quick.
All right, sir. Well,
About Sam Darnold. Darnold looked like he was seeing ghosts again against Minnesota. But
you want to give us a pick for that game? Give us a pick for that game.
Well, real quick, I feel like Detroit has the type of mentality and mindset in that locker room where they can throw Joey Balls out there on defense and he's going to play sideline to sideline fast and intense. You know what I'm saying? It just I don't think LA has that type of mentality or defense. So I think Minnesota has a bounce back game. I think Minnesota wins.
All right. Now, what we've been doing lately on this show is we've actually been picking it by the spread, giving people something to bet on. Minnesota giving one over under 47.5. What do you like there? So obviously you like the Minnesota giving one then.
Minnesota and the over.
And the over. Okay. I think playoffs teams tighten a bit. I think I'm going to go the under there. Just throw out an early pick here since we're talking this game anyway.
Have a good night, guys. I got to get going.
You too. Good talking with you, sir.
Thanks for having me. Later, fellas.
Better 5.
All right. So, I mean, Joey, I don't know how you feel about this game. Let's pick it for Randall. I'm taking the Vikings giving one. I think they're the better team. They've been better over the course of the year. I think Darnold has a rebound game. It's been his best season by far yet. And, yeah, I like Minnesota giving the one, but give me the under. I think defenses are going to tighten up a bit.
Oh, yeah, man. Minnesota's had an awesome year. I don't know though if it's finally over though for Darnold and this Minnesota team. He's had a ton of sacks this year. The last couple games he's kind of looked human. Give me the Rams at home. Even if they go to a neutral field, I'll take the Rams. I don't know about that actually. Matt Stafford has looked so terrible the last few games. Ever since the Bills game, I don't know if he got hurt, but he has not looked right for a couple games. You know what? Randall, you're brand new. I'm going with your Vikings. Screw it. Give me the Vikings. They some way, somehow pull it out. Cooper Kupp has looked old and hasn't really been involved. Matt Stafford's looked old. So give me the Minnesota Vikings to go on the road and pull this off. And I'll take the over. What the hell?
Dave, what you got?
I'm going to say give me the Vikings, but I'm going to take the under.
All right. Well, that's that game. Dave, you got any quick thoughts on your Cowboys before we move to the rest of the games here? Any thoughts on them keeping McCarthy, because they haven't made a move on that yet?
Honestly, I hate Jerry Jones. Those are my thoughts. The stupid shit he says, what he did to Cooper Rush on what they did to Cooper Rush on Sunday was messed up. To act like he doesn't know it, you're literally the general manager. You know the contracts, you know the incentives, you know shut the hell up. Don't tell me you don't know that. You cost that man $500,000 because you wouldn't let him play a half of football in a meaningless game for you and your team.
So I think what you want to say to Jerry is
stop it. Get some help.
I mean, what I'd like to say to him is not very Christian, and I won't say it, but really, it's so frustrating. And then to hear him talk about how he'd like a coach that'd be willing to take an incentive-laced deal instead of just a deal, and it's beyond frustrating. And it's like, who the hell wants to go coach there? Like, seriously, like even McCarthy, there's no guarantee McCarthy wants to be there. And then they deny Chicago the ability to interview him. So you're just handcuffing the guy and essentially putting him in a position where it's like, well, hey, don't coach next year or only coach for us. And here's the only contract we're willing to give. Like, it's just, no matter how you look at it, it's bad business. It really is. That man may know how to turn a profit, and he may know how to, he's a huge reason that franchise is turned into the most valuable franchise in sports, but he's also the main reason that franchise can't get over the hump of the first round. So, but overall, I mean, Justin Fields, Trey Lance showed some moments, but then he also showed you some moments on why San Fran was willing to trade him for a fourth. Very interesting to see how Tolbert would have played, or not Tolbert.
Lamb.
Oh my God, they barely let the guy run the ball. So his name's slipping my brain right now.
Dowdle or Dowd?
Dowdle, yeah. Like, it would have been interesting to see if you let Dowdle be your lead back all year long. that offensive line, I can't believe I'm saying this, looked better once Zach Martin went on IR. So I think this year is the last year you'll see Zach Martin wearing a football uniform. Definitely the last year you'll see him wearing a star on his helmet if he does decide to try and come back and play. But overall, I don't know. When your team goes 7-9 or 7-10, and you realize that, you know, one or two games that they blew in the final minutes, you know, puts them in as a wild card team, it just makes it disappointing. Like, I'd rather you just suck and, you know, only win 3 games than, you know, put yourself in a position where you actually could fight for the playoffs, and then you just realize that you shit the bed. And all these moments, including getting, you know, blown out by the Saints 44-10 or whatever it was, and seeing that they ended up with a worse record than you did. I'm just happy the year's over. I'll put it that way.
I think we're all happy.
Well, listen, I mean,
I don't have to watch Cowboys.
I'm happy not just for that reason. To be honest, we haven't mentioned it yet, but I got to mention it. I'm happy because I went, for the first time ever in fantasy football, I went 16-0. I went undefeated. I had to mention it today. Beat Joey in the final too, but yeah, had to mention it tonight.
Team Joey was ready to throw in the trash after like 4 weeks.
I was 0-3, and I said the team can go 0-14 for all I care, and then all of a sudden we turned it around.
That's the first time I've ever gone undefeated in any league I've ever been in. I've been playing fantasy football for like 20 years now. Never done that. So
congratulations, good sir.
Football team, when you said they could go 0-14, it makes me think of the Jordan moment from The Last Dance, where he's like, and I took that personal.
My team took it personal, bro. They're like, F you, we're not going 0-14 now. Actually,
I thought you were going to compare.
We're making a run.
I thought you were going to compare it to the Lions when they went 0-16.
No.
With Dan Orlovsky.
I think Dan Campbell was on that team too.
Was he?
I think so. But anyway.
Sounds about right. But anyway, moving on to some more games here. Since we're done commiserating about our teams and how shitty they were. Yeah, let's start with these Saturday games. Interesting games. You got Chargers at Texans. Texans 10-7. They were kind of hot, hot and cold this year. Great some weeks.
Injuries though. Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell lost 2 big receivers for them.
And the Chargers have been pretty consistent all season for the most part, but this is still going to be tough playing in Houston. The Chargers, though, which I think is a weird line, giving 3 to the Texans, over under 42.5. That's what we're looking at here. I got to be honest, I like the Texans at home. If the Chargers were home, I might think differently, but again, this is actually a game where they're lucky they're on the road because they'd be running into the same issues the Rams are if they weren't. But I like the Texans at home. I like getting 3 here in this case anyway, especially, with the points. Give me Texans getting 3. And again, I think defenses tighten up. I'm going to go under the 42.5.
Okay. Well, I'm going opposite of you.
I think both teams can run the ball. That's another reason.
I like the Chargers.
Mixing, Chargers like to run too. I think, could be.
Justin Herbert has, played phenomenal this year. Only 3 interceptions. As the Emperor in the chat puts, J.K. Dobbins is back. And I agree with that. With J.K. Dobbins, his running attack is good. And they just added, for depth on the running back chart, they added Ezekiel Elliott to the running back room.
Whoa.
Watch out, folks. This is going to be an amazing running attack now with Zeke. But no, honestly.
Have fresh legs. He didn't do shit all year.
Exactly, Dave.
He could get you that 1 yard that you need on like a 4th and 1 or a goal line.
But that ass, I will take the Chargers. I mean, Quentin Johnson has been coming around, playing better. Ladd McConkey's been playing great all year. Like I said, Herbert with only 3 picks. I'm going to take the Chargers. I'm going to take the -3, and I'm going to go over. Dave, what are your thoughts on the game?
Oh, that's a good. I mean, I feel like out of all the games, this is the one that might be the hardest to pick. Because the Texans took advantage of a bad division. They did not play good football for the second half of the year. But with that said, you know what? Give me the Chargers with the upset on the road.
The Chargers are the favorite. The Chargers are the favorite. They're giving 3 to Houston.
Oh, giving 3. I'll still take the Chargers giving 3. And give me the over.
All right, so you went with Joey. I went opposite of both of you guys, so that's all right.
Cash
that's all right.
that. Cash that, baby.
Again, I just think that the Chargers, listen, Texans, I feel like they're still on the upswing. Chargers are getting there. They started this year, but yeah, I don't know. Something about that Texans team I like. Going on to the night game, though, this is probably a game that a lot of people circled, but do we know if Pickens is going to be back?
He should be playing. I don't know if Zay Flowers is going to be playing.
I don't think Flowers is playing. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's playing. But you have the 10-7 Steelers at the 12-5 Ravens. Steelers were way better than any of us probably thought they were going. Not way better, but better than most of us thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. Mike Tomlin just turns out winning season after winning season after winning season. The Steelers can't ever let him go, honestly. Like he has 0 losing seasons. He's the New York Yankees of football right now. Like he just doesn't have losing seasons.
Real quick, says Zay Flowers long shot to play Sunday.
Yeah, so as I said, I don't think he's playing. That being said, Baltimore's giving 9.5 in this game. That's a monster spread. And in a divisional matchup on Wildcard Weekend, I don't think they're going to blow them out because the Steelers are just too good for that. Their defense is too good for that. So I actually like I like Baltimore straight up on the money line, but I like the Steelers getting 9.5. And the 43.5, again, I like the under. I think both teams are going to play good defense. I think both teams are going to run the ball. And I mean, listen, if the Ravens go into another postseason and don't run the ball, especially after going out and signing Derrick Henry,
I was just gonna say,
then I'm sorry. Then the whole regime should be fired. You're all morons. Like you literally it has been their problem every postseason. They get into a throwing habit and they can't do it. You have Derrick Henry. You went out and signed this man for a reason. Feed him the ball. I can't stress it enough. So with that being said, like I said, give me the Steelers getting the 9.5. I think it's going to be closer than that. I'll take the under of 43.5, and I'd take the Ravens on the money line. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers getting the 9.5, but like you, I would take Baltimore straight up. And I would take the under as well because third time playing each other, you basically know almost everything you're going to throw at each other, so it's going to be really going to boil down to a game of who makes more mistakes.
All right.
Oh, and I'll take. Yeah.
You got Pickett? Let's go.
I'm going opposite of you guys. I think Lamar and Baltimore give it to the Ravens, man. The Steelers can't keep up offensively. So give me the Baltimore Ravens minus 9.5, and I will take the over as well. I think that Derrick Henry runs it down their freaking throats.
Listen, that's the move. You got to hand that man the ball. You have to feed him the ball. That is why you signed him. This is what you brought him here for. If you do not utilize him, if he doesn't have 25 plus carries,
you did something wrong.
You did something wrong. And I don't care if he runs it 25 times and Lamar runs it 15 more. Like, run the damn ball all day.
I'm with you 100%.
All day. That being said, we're going to move on to these Sunday games. The first one to me is a bit of a travesty. Something I want to get into real quick because the way that Kansas City just absolutely laid down for the Broncos last week. Now you're clapping it up.
Good job, KC.
But was this a defensive move by KC? Because I think it was. I think they didn't want to see Cincinnati. They knew Cincinnati was a team that could beat them. They knew they could beat the Broncos.
So smart.
It's smart, but in a way, like,
so smart.
To me, it's almost cheating, though.
Why is that cheating?
Because you didn't even you actively lost the game 38-0.
It's sportsmanship.
There was no sportsmanship there.
Cincinnati.
Poor sportsmanship is what it is. Poor
Cincinnati
sportsmanship.
should have beaten New England week 1, and then they would have been in the playoffs.
Yes,
sir.
which is again a reason why more
Keep
teams
them out of the playoffs.
should
Good job, Kansas City.
participate in the
Good job.
preseason.
Good job.
Those guys didn't get going until
They're
after
smart.
week 4. It
They're
was week
smart.
5, week 6 when they started getting going, and it was too late. So I agree with you there, but at the same time, the Broncos, do they deserve it? Like, do they deserve it?
Doesn't matter if they deserve it. They have 10 wins. Yeah, they deserve it. Yeah.
Well, it's like,
They do.
but then so then let me ask you again, a different way. This weekend, the Bucks, another playoff team we'll talk about here in a couple minutes. Mike Evans, last play of the game, is back on the field. Baker Mayfield catches like a 5-yard slant.
Needed that incentive, bro, baby.
But regardless of the incentive, went out there. The other team practically laid down for him. They let him catch the ball.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
Was there a quarterback
it's kind
laid
of
down for a certain person? to
Michael
get it?
Strahan. Listen, but that's what I'm saying. So, are you defending all of these moves? Are all of these moves to you right? Are they just, or is it a bit of like, they're so close, but now we're just going to give them the edge. We're going to let them go over the hump.
Dave, let's get your opinion first. Go ahead.
Very simply put to me, Kansas City did what they needed to do to make sure they went to the playoffs healthy. They protected the quarterback and their star players. And it's not their problem that Cincinnati needed Denver to win the game. So that's on Cincinnati. That has nothing to do with Kansas City, and I don't feel bad for anybody.
To be honest, Dave, I agree with you. As much as I was pushing the other narrative, I 100% agree with that. And it goes back to the point with Joey a minute ago that if they would have won week 1, well, guess what? They weren't ready for week 1 because Burrow didn't play in the preseason. Chase didn't play in the preseason. None of their offense really played in the preseason. So guess what? They got beat week 1 by a terrible New England team and missed the playoffs because of it. Well, guess what? Get your team going a little bit earlier. Get working in the preseason because you know what? The Vikings worked in the preseason, and where are they? You look at other teams, the teams that worked hard in the preseason, a lot of them are where they're at now. There's not a lot of teams that, you could just lose the first 4 or 5 weeks and then just figure you could flip a switch and turn it on. It doesn't work that way. So I 100% agree that this isn't a Chiefs problem. This is a Bengals problem where the Bengals have to look at themselves. They can't blame the Chiefs. Chiefs did whatever they had to do. Guess what? They won so many games that they got into the playoffs and then could take a week off. They could rest all their guys and not have to worry about the number 1 seed because they did that well all year.
Correct, Eric. Correct, brother.
So I 100% agree with you guys. And again, it's the same with the rest of them. I think that Mike Evans, listen, he's on the field. He made the catch. It's his record now.
$3 million buck catch.
It is, but again, I don't have a problem with that type of stuff. So, again, they got to look inward. They got to look at themselves. Anybody who has a problem with Strahan, then why weren't you out there tackling him? Or why weren't you out there blocking him? Why weren't you? You know what I mean?
It. That's a little different than what Kansas City did. However, I'm not rooting for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl at all. I'm rooting for somebody else to win the Super Bowl. But anyway, going back to the game, we have the Bo Nix, my man Bo, Nix-led Broncos going against the Buffalo Bills. Wow. I don't know, man. This one's a little tough to me. I know the Bills are a big favorite. I don't think it's going to be an 8.5-point game. I don't think the Bills kick their ass. I really don't. I think Denver keeps it close.
Go ahead,
they
pick
got a
it
good
then.
team.
Give it to us.
Then I'll take Denver plus the points, kind of how you guys took Pittsburgh getting the points. I think Buffalo wins the game, but I think Denver keeps it close. I really do. So give me Denver in the points, and I'll take the under at 46.5. Give me my boy Bo.
See, I'll agree with you with the under, but the Bills are going to kick their ass. I'd actually take the Bills given the 8.5 here. I think the Bills win handily. They're at home. They're 8-0 at home this year. They're going to do what they need to do. And the Broncos, very good. Bo Nix should be in the Rookie of the Year conversation. They've played above their pay grade all year. They've been unbelievable. I went into the season, I'll say it, I admit it, I thought this was one of the least talented teams in the NFL. I looked at their quarterback room and said they're second to the Giants in terrible quarterback room. I looked at it and said there's no way this team's winning more than 6 games. And you know what? They proved me wrong. Bo Nix came out, balled out. Cortland Sutton played like a number 1 receiver.
Yes, he did.
Their defense played unbelievably well all year long. They've done everything you need to do, and they've done it with a rookie QB. And Sean Payton, who's again proving he's a pretty damn good coach when he wants to be. You know, he's pretty good. So that being said, I'm taking the Bills, giving the 8.5, and give me the under. It's a nice story for Bo Nix. It's a building block. It's building for the Chiefs or for the Broncos because listen, the Chiefs are going to come down a peg when they start losing Kelsey. When they start losing some of the guys, they could lose their top offensive lineman this year. They could. There's a few things that could happen that could knock this Chiefs team down a couple pegs. This is their shot to three-peat. The Broncos could be on their heels if they keep building like this. But give me the Bills and the under.
Dave, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to take the Broncos getting the points, but I would take the Bills straight up. I think the Broncos defense is good enough to keep the game close. I just don't think Bo Nix and that young offense is ready for what's going to take place in Buffalo, especially considering, it could be around like 15 degrees once you factor in wind chill when this game goes off. I just don't think that young team in Denver is ready for what's going to take place in Buffalo, but I think they keep it tight. I think they keep it close. And let's be honest, Buffalo and Josh Allen have a pretty big monkey to get off their back when it comes down to postseason success. So overall, the pressure is going to be on Buffalo, even though Detroit's the home team. So I'm gonna take Denver getting the points straight up. I'd take Buffalo, and I will. What's the over under again?
46.5.
What do you say? I'll take the over.
Nice, Dave. Nice.
All right, so that's our picks for that game. So as we're moving on here,
The Emperor likes Josh Allen for 4 touchdowns in that game.
speaking
The
of,
Emperor.
Yeah,
he's in the chat.
In the chat.
Shout out to the people in the chat.
Come check out the chat, Dave.
Yeah, listen, we're having a lot of fun in there. Hopefully, Amanda, maybe it's Amanda and we don't know. Maybe she's in the chat too. She could be incognito as one of these names. We don't know.
Could be.
But hey, as long as they're in there having fun, that's all that matters to us. But going to this, the Fox game of the week, the Packers-Eagles. And you look at it, and Philly giving 4.5 at home. I like the Packers, but to be honest, I've been saying it all year. I've been saying it since they went out on top. I think he is. I could be wrong.
He's playing.
He's playing, I think. So with Hurts, with them going out and signing Barkley, I told you guys preseason this was going to be a monster offense, a monster team. They were going to be one of the top teams in the NFC and vying for a shot at the title. I thought Saquon made that much of a difference to this offense, and he really does. You look at it, 2,005 yards on the season. Yeah, he didn't play week 17, but you know what? Or week 18, but to go for the record. But the records are a little bit skewed now that it's a 17-game season anyway, so I don't mind it. He broke 2,000. To me, that's really the mark. If you could break 2,000, doesn't matter how much you get above that. That's an elite mark. And he was an elite player all year. That reason alone, plus they're at home, give me the Eagles minus the 4.5. Give me the over of 44.5. As much as I like the Packers, Love got banged up last week a little bit. You know, they're a good team. I think Watson's out for the year,
Watson
right?
torn ACL.
Yeah, so he's out.
Done for the whole year.
I love Jacobs. Their pickup of Jacobs. You look at the teams that went out and signed these older backs.
Jacobs was going to be an auction.
But Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Barkley, all these guys that were 27 and up and said, you're hitting the women, we're letting you go. They all came out and excelled this year and showed that there's still something in the tank beyond 27. Now, maybe it doesn't get to 30, 31, 32, but why not get another 2-3 years out of a guy? And the Giants, the other teams could have done this and retained their guys, and they didn't do it. So I don't feel bad for him. I'm actually happy for Saquon, as tough as that is to say because he's an Eagle. I still kind of pull for the guy, root for the guy, and I'm picking the Eagles here, minus the 4.5 and the over of 44.5. What do you got, Joey?
Woo. Man, go figure. These two teams started the year off week 1 in the game in Brazil, as I recall. And now one of them are going to get eliminated as their last game against each other. So I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, Packers, like you said, lost Christian Watson. Eagles have been playing great all year, even without Hurts. I mean, McKee this past week looked pretty good. Pickett has looked pretty good as a backup. So even if, God forbid, Hurts doesn't play, I actually really like the Eagles a lot. At least win. But I think they'll win by a touchdown. They're at home. I think they can rely on Saquon to get it done. God forbid Hurts doesn't play. So yeah, give me the Eagles, and I'll actually take the over as well. Dave, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that I would love to say that the Green Bay Packers are going to win and mean it confidently, and I will be the biggest Packers fan in the world on Sunday when they play the Eagles. But that's just the Cowboy Eagle hater in me. The unbiased football guy says that I'm going to take the Eagles giving the points, and I will take the over because I think the Eagles are the better team.
Yeah. And we got
I hope I'm wrong.
a couple comments in the chat. The Emperor puts out that the Eagles are imposters. They're going to win this game, though, because the NFC is a cupcake walk. I agree with that. That being said, they'll make the Super Bowl and then get the doors blown off by the Bills. Interesting. And then Ryan says that Henry and Saquon cap hit this year was $22 million combined. That's insane because they both were MVP worthy this year, and for them to only be $22 million combined is just sick. So good job by those GMs getting those done because there's other GMs that couldn't get it done.
One thing I'll say about the Bills, though, they seem to beat the Chiefs in the regular season. Don't necessarily beat them in the postseason. So I don't know if I'd count the Bills in the Super Bowl just yet.
Dave, what'd you say? Sorry.
I said thanks for the reminder that some GMs couldn't find the money to sign guys like Saquon or
dude,
Henry.
I wasn't even referring to you. I was referring to Joe Shane saying that,
Why have your $40 million quarterback handing off to a $12 million running back? Man. Like, how stupid do you sound now? Sound like an idiot.
Tyrone Tracy still had over 1,000 yards.
He was good, but he didn't have 2,000.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
2,000.
Saquon wouldn't have had 2,000 with the Giants, but it's okay.
No,
It's all right. Anyway.
I know, I'm just bitter. And I don't think the NFC East is a terrible conference, or the NFC is a terrible conference either. I mean, Packers are very good. Eagles are good. The Vikings were good. Listen, even if you take the top two teams and you say they're heavy, the Eagles and the Lions are Super Bowl contenders.
I could see what they're saying, though. I really do. I could see, because Detroit's defense isn't all that great, in my opinion. Not anymore. They're too banged up. If the Eagles don't come out of here, I'll be a little surprised. I'm not going to lie. Commanders are on the up and up. Buccaneers, their defense is just but their offense is fantastic. Vikings are okay. I wonder if Sam Darnold, though, the pumpkin has turned back. The carriage has turned into a pumpkin. There it is. We'll see.
I don't know, possible, but it'd be I'm just saying I don't think it's the layup, like the easiest, either. I think the AFC is pretty top heavy too. When you look at it, Kansas City, Baltimore, and the Bills, like they're the top three teams. Like outside of that, I don't think I think one of those three is going to be in the Super Bowl for sure. So, I mean, I think it's pretty top heavy in both. If you want to look at it, you want to say either the Eagles or the Lions, and the other division's got 3. There's really top 5 teams. Those are the top 5 you're looking at going into the playoffs. And I got to think you're going to find some combination of those 5 in the Super Bowl.
We'll see.
Would you take some combination of that 5 or the rest of the field?
No, that some combination of that 5.
What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's some combination of that 5.
Got to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously we've seen crazier things happen, like the Giants' 2007 run or
Giants
2011. Like, we've seen crazier, but when it comes down to what we've seen over the last 18 weeks, I don't know how you don't believe it's going to be one of those 5 or 2 of those 5 playing against each other.
Well, speaking of 2 teams, though, that aren't going to be on that list, moving on to the 8 o'clock game on Sunday, Commanders at Bucks. To be honest, I like Baker ever since he's gotten to the Bucks. I'm glad he found his way out of quarterback hell with the Browns. I'm glad that he found a team he fits with. I'm glad that he's helping that offense succeed. Bucky Irving has been another rookie running back that's done really well this year. Mike Evans is just an absolute beast year after year. And they're home, but they're catching a Commanders team 12-5 on the year. Stumbled a little bit mid-year, but I mean, they started 7-2 and then stumbled a little bit and then got back on track at the end of the year. Everyone has to love what Jaden Daniels has brought to that team.
Changed that franchise around so far in 1 year.
He didn't even play last week, right? They sat him. He's not hurt, right? They just sat him and played Mariota to keep him fresh for the playoffs.
He sat in the 4th. I'm pretty sure they sat him in the 4th.
Is it just the 4th? So I saw Mariota giving it to the Cowboys too.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Jaden Daniels only had 43 yards passing against the Cowboys. He was trash. Dallas was winning at half. Then they came out. They went again. He got beat up again, and they took him off the field because they didn't want him to get hurt before the playoffs because Dallas's pass rush was just dominating them.
And then the mighty Mariota came in.
Mariota.
Yeah, and
stole the game.
Threw on him. He wanted.
So, but all that said, I actually like the Bucks at home in this game. They're given 3 over under 50.5. I think both teams can score. So I actually, weirdly enough, would take the over, I think. But that being said, I'm going to take the Bucks given the 3. I like Mayfield. I like these guys. I like him better at home. Commanders, a young team, young quarterback, first time in the playoffs. Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm thinking the Bucks minus the 3 and the over of 50.5. Joey, what do you think?
I think what the Bucks have been doing recently has been really good. The rookie McMillan has stepped up the last few weeks. Well, not few weeks. He scored, I believe, a touchdown the last 5 weeks. So that's really awesome after struggling early in the year. However, I really like the Commanders in this game. The way Jaden Daniels has played all year. I know Baker's played amazing too. He's got 40 touchdowns and 16 picks, 4,500 yards throwing the ball. I could see this being a very back and forth type of game. But I don't know why. I just really like the Commanders. And I got to shout out Bucky Irving and that running attack too, with him and Rashad White, what the Buccaneers have done this year between them two. Give me the over. Give me Washington to keep it close, +3. I'll actually take them outright to win too. I just think their defense is a little bit better than the Buccaneers, so I think they'll slow down the Bucs a little bit. And I forgot they traded for Marshawn Lattimore at the trade deadline. So you put Marshawn Lattimore on Mike Evans, and maybe Mike Evans gets all mad and pissed off, and maybe he throws a punch, and he's ejected from the game. They don't got to worry about a Mr. Mike Evans anymore.
Maybe you get a pissed off Mike Evans who goes for 200.
500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Dave, how you leaning on this game?
I mean, I think the NFL made the right move making it to Sunday night because it's probably the most intriguing game on the schedule. I think what could cause problems for Tampa Bay is all the injuries at safety. I mean, they had their one safety literally have to miss last week's game and going to be out for a couple weeks because he got into a car accident. Like they have another guy on injury reserve, and then the Lattimore thing with Evans. Lattimore tends to have Evans' number. He's won more battles than Evans has won. But that rookie wide receiver that Tampa Bay has, they're getting their tight end back for this game. They've got the two-headed monster running back with really being led by Bucky Irving. I mean, that could help me win a fantasy championship. So I'm all for Bucky.
Is that the team that you auto-drafted?
Yeah, but Bucky I picked up.
Don't matter. You won it with an auto-draft. That's freaking awesome, Dave.
Yeah. Well, when the system auto drafts Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, and Puka Nacua along with Godwin, I was pretty stacked. So anyway, I think Washington's going to hang, but I do think that Tampa Bay's veteran experience. This is the fourth year in a row they won the division. And not to mention, I think one of the biggest things that come out of what they did for Mike Evans, I think that's a bonding moment for a team, right? When the defense did everything they could to get the ball back so that the offense could run that play to get Evans to his 1,000 yards and be Jerry Rice is the only two wide receivers to do it 11 years straight. I think that's something special and puts something in a locker room that just you can't create that moment. That moment comes to you, and they did it. It's not the same because it wasn't a team achievement, but very much like I mentioned them before, right? Very much like what the 2007 Giants did, right? They lost to the Patriots in Week 17, but with how well they played against them, it sparked that entire run.
Hell yeah, it did.
And I think what took place, that play, that moment, that defense getting the ball back, everything put together, I think is something really special. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay, giving the points, but I will take the over because their defense is definitely going to give up points.
Tampa and the over. Seems like you're agreeing with me there. I like it.
About time.
Right?
I've been Team Joey.
So now that we've got that wrapped up, I guess the only thing left to talk about football-wise, I just want to touch on it with you guys here before we get going, is the college football playoffs. I only got 50% of the games right. I picked the Final Four before we last left. I thought it was going to be Texas, Oregon, Penn State, Georgia. Obviously, Ohio State beat up on Oregon. And Georgia got lumped up kind of by Notre Dame. So it was kind of interesting. And the interesting thing about these four teams is none of the four teams left in the college football playoffs won their conference. None of them are conference winners. So that being said, you have Texas against Ohio State, which I think is going to be a great game. And you have Notre Dame against Penn State, which is also going to be a great game. Looking at those games, it starts tomorrow night, I believe.
There you got Notre Dame, Penn State.
Yep.
Texas, Ohio State. Everything. Dude, I couldn't believe all the teams that had a bye lost.
Yeah, so tomorrow night we got Notre Dame Penn State. This is in Miami, the Hard Rock Stadium. Notre Dame is favored, giving 1.5. I don't agree with that. I think Penn State actually wins this game outright. I think Drew Allar, who is their quarterback, has a chance that if he wanted to come out, might be the third overall pick with the Giants. I don't want that to happen, but it could happen after this game, especially if they play well and he moves on. His draft stock may never be higher than it is now. So something to think about. But Notre Dame really good all year, only one loss. Penn State, 2 losses, but again, both teams are really good. I think on a neutral field, it's a pretty even game, but give me Penn State getting the 1.5. Give me Penn State on the money line as well, and give me the over of 44.5. That's how I'm feeling. Joey, what you got?
I can't sit here in front, bro. I know absolutely nothing about these college games. I know nothing.
Did you catch any of the college football games at all?
No, I've worked. I worked. The only football I watched came on Christmas Day. That's the only football I've watched. Anyway, I know Love, the Notre Dame running back. He's supposed to play this year. This game. But somebody I think is going to be out for Penn State, and I think that's why Notre Dame is favored. However, I hear Penn State is really good up front, and they should be able to shut down the run. So give me the 1.5. Give me Penn State, and I'll take the under in this game because it seems like none of the offenses want to get going.
All right, Dave, you got any thoughts on this one?
I was actually quite impressed with what Notre Dame was able to do to Georgia. I know Georgia was starting, their backup quarterback. Their starting quarterback got hurt. But man, I was quite impressed by what Notre Dame was able to do. But I think what I also like is you got two historic, classic schools going against each other. I honestly don't know enough about either team to make an educated guess, so I'm going to make a biased guess. And I know a hell of a lot more people that either went to Penn State or are Penn State fans than I do Notre Dame. So I'm going to go with Penn State because that's what the people I know in my life would want me to do.
Have you ever been out there? Did you go out there and visit anybody? Because I did a bunch of times. My buddy Chris was out there, and I'd go visit him, and it was a lot of fun. Had a real good time out there at Penn State.
Now, ironically enough, I didn't meet anybody that went to Penn State until I started working at ADP. And like tomorrow, I'm going out to our Allentown office, and I'd say like 60% of that office went to Penn State. So, and shout out to any of them that might be listening. But there's some really good people, and there's some of the people that have helped support us since you got this up and running, Erich. So,
well, listen, I was pulling for him anyway, but even more of a reason to pull for him. Listen, Fife's Penn
our buddy
State.
Ryan, our buddy Ryan's a big Penn State fan.
Yeah, he's a Penn State fan. Fife's a big Penn State fan. Another friend of ours, Becca, is a big Penn State fan. So there's lots of Penn State fans out there.
Ryan's actually in the chat. He's saying that Carter is supposed to play. That's the guy who I thought maybe was out. And I asked him if Carter does not play, does he think Penn State will still, pull it out? And he thinks that they'll still do it. So we'll find out.
Right. And then the other game, which I think is going to be really good as well. I honestly think one of these two teams might end up winning the title. I think it's probably going to be Texas. That's who I'm picking in this game. Ohio State's giving 5.5 to Texas. I'm taking Texas on the money line, and I'm taking Texas getting the 5.5. Over under 53.5. Again, both teams can score. Give me the over and give me Texas. I just think Texas is better seasoned team a little bit more than, and I know it's just probably personal opinion and SEC bias, but I like what Texas has done. I've seen more of Texas than I have Ohio State, admittedly, but all that said, I still think Texas is the better team. I think 5.5 is way too much, and I like Texas in Arlington down in Jerry World, and give me the over.
Nobody else is playing there this weekend, so.
Ha!
Truth.
Hey, if you can't make fun of yourself, right? Honestly, I don't know why. I literally have nothing to back this up. No reasoning other than gut feel. I'm taking Ohio State. I don't know what it is. I think Ohio State wins this game. Something tells me they're going to. So I'm taking Ohio State to win the game. And you said Texas is giving 5.5.
No, getting 5.5.
Texas is getting
5.5. Ohio State is giving 5.5.
All right. Well, I'll take Texas getting the points, but if we're going straight up, I'm going Ohio State, and I'll take the over.
All right. Now, the one thing I'll tell you that I love about both of these games, and I think you guys will too, I love the 7:30 start time. Love it.
Oh, yeah.
Don't give me a 9 o'clock start time where I got to be
These games
paying
are starting
attention.
to get up to 4 hours now, these college games.
Yeah, some of them, yeah. But I'm just saying, even still, like, I love the 7:30 start. Like, I wish the NFL did that instead of, 8 o'clock starts or 8:30 or 9 o'clock starts like they do sometimes. I love the 7:30 start. And, both Thursday, Friday. So, I mean, you think about it. You have that game, Penn State, Notre Dame Thursday night, Ohio State, Texas Friday night. Then you roll into the games on Saturday, the NFL with the Ravens and the Steelers and the Texans and the Chargers. Then you roll into Sunday with the 3 games on Sunday. Then you roll into Monday. And the NFL, just to bring us full circle, better not screw Monday up. Make the adjustment early. Get the game to Vegas or get it to another safe location so that people can make the proper arrangements. Do not screw this up. I don't know.
Yeah, but you also got to keep in mind too, right? If the stadium's already booked by somebody else, like they can't take that stadium. And if there's one thing I have no doubt about, I don't know for a fact, but I think it's fair to assume that stadium in Vegas is probably booked every single weekend with some type of shows or events. So, that could be arguably the biggest challenge for the NFL. And you're not going to have a playoff game get played, in Mexico, right? Like you're not going to do that. You're going to keep it on U.S. soil. So, I'm sure it's going to be a challenge, but they'll figure it out.
But will they figure it out and give people enough time, or are they going to screw people over? That's the thing.
Oh, they're going to screw people over. It's the NFL.
All right. It is. It is the NFL. So that being said, we know nothing stops the Shield. And guess what? Nothing stopped us from coming back in 2025. Woo!
Let's go.
Woo. So I'm going to give us a... Hang on. Where'd it go here?
It's in the chat.
A big round of applause for coming back 2025 stronger. Shout out to everybody who joined us, everybody in the chat. Probably our biggest night in the chat so far. So thank you to Randall. Thank you to Ryan. Thank you to Eric. Thank you to my sister. Thank you to everybody. Emperor. To everybody who joined us. We can't thank you enough for chiming in. Carl. I'm sure Timmy might have been in there at some point. Like anybody who's out there supporting us, thank you so much. Hit that like button for us. Hit that subscribe button. Do all those free fun things. You can find us, obviously, with all the signage you see at Die on This Hill on YouTube, on Facebook. Hopefully, we'll hit 100 on Facebook very soon, and we can start streaming live there as well. So, looking forward to all that. Looking forward to a great 2025 with everybody. And that being said, Joey, why don't you tell them where they can find you? And I'm happy to have you back, brother.
You can find me on Instagram at JoeyDoth47. That Doth standing for Die on This Hill. And real quick, I will take Ohio State in the over since Ohio State has the most money NIL can buy on paper.
And Dave, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
Well, as far as Luke, the background saying, well, you guys can find me right here whining. But no, you can find me. David Hastings 23. You can find me on Instagram. Yeah, so happy to be back. Happy guys. Looking forward to being here with you.
Awesome. And
Wish you were here, Dave.
hopefully we'll get you here next week. Shout out to Fife as well. You can find him here because he doesn't got the socials. You can find him here talking sports with us. And you can obviously find Louis here too, our unofficial 5th co-host. Obviously our mascot as well. And until next week, like we like to say, don't be afraid to have an opinion and die on this hill.
Peace out, everybody.
All right, Dave, we're good. You're good.